Let's talk about Xbox Series S today, as it looks like this little console is going to be pushing some impressive results when it comes to graphics performance and ray tracing in the upcoming Armored Core 6 game. Let's look into this. But before we look into it, let's check iniba.com. They offer games for Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo and PC, and they've got a ton of games on offer right now. They've got Iniba's bestsellers going on right now, FC24 is coming soon, Best Gaming Race and some new week deals. So let's check in the best deals right now. So how about, well, Cyberpunk 2077? The new update is coming pretty soon, so let's check this one out. And all you have to do now is just basically buy now, add it to your cart and add more. So let's go with buy now option and proceed to checkout or add more games to your cart, and that's it, guys. All you have to do now is just select a payment of your choice and you're done. So guys, iniba.com, link is in the description of this video below. Okay, so let's talk about Xbox Series S. So when Microsoft first announced this console and its specs, they were advertising this game console as a 1440p up to 120 frames per second console with a super fast SSD and ray tracing capabilities, RDNA 2 based and all that kind of jargon, right? And on paper that looked kind of cool, although we did see some limitations like memory, because 10 gigabytes of even fast memory is not really that much, and also memory bandwidth. Maybe it's not really that much of an issue when it comes to lower resolutions like 1080p, but you know, delivering 1440p at 120 frames per second is actually not an easy task. But anyway, that's marketing side of things. Reality was, for the most part, that a lot of games run at 1080p without ray tracing and sometimes locked to 30 frames per second. Sometimes, not always, right? Still, a lot of games for Xbox Series S offer performance and quality modes, right? So you can still play games at 60, but a lot of times these performance modes would drop resolution down to like below 1080p, sometimes 720p, 900p, 800p, and then would be upscaled to like 1080p or 1440p, right? So unfortunately, not all developers were pushing and that console when it comes to its capabilities, and we're not using and are still not using all its features. But I've got very good news actually today when it comes to that particular console and game. So Armored Core 6 is coming out very soon, like in 3-4 days, I think. I'm recording this video on 21st, so I'm not really sure when you're going to watch it. So basically on 25th of August, Armored Core 6 is coming out, and developers actually published specs for PC, but also consoles, right? So that's kind of cool. This is what they produced. So basically, Armored Core on current gen consoles going to run up to 4K on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, up to 60 frames per second on both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Well, Xbox Series S too, when it comes to frame rate. Ray tracing is going to be supported on all platforms, but only in Garage, so not during the actual gameplay, but when you will be probably modifying your robot or something like that, probably, right? Well, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't played the game yet. Ultra-wide support only for PC. Obviously, on PC, you've got up to 4K and up to 120 frames per second, which is actually a welcomed change, because a lot of times From Software games would be locked to 60 frames per second on PC, even though you might have had way a very powerful PC that could potentially run it up to 120, but no, there's a lock to 60 in many of their games, but not this one, so that's good news. And obviously we've got Xbox Series S, which this particular spreadsheet specs sheet says up to 1440p 2560 by 1440, up to 60 frames per second, and supported ray tracing. Now obviously these are just spec sheets, and we still have to wait for the game to come out, and we'll have to wait and see whether it will really deliver that. So up to 1440p means that it's probably dynamic. Up to 4K means that it's dynamic, so it's not always at 1440p. But in reality, for Xbox Series S, if this game is going to run basically anything between 1080p and 1440p, so it's going to be dynamic, like I said, it will change. That's still going to be a good news in my opinion. As long as it doesn't fall below 1080p, I'm fine with that. Up to 60 frames per second, well, that's kind of not encouraging really either, because I would prefer like not up to 60 but 60, if you know what I mean. So I'm curious what that actually means. I fear that game will run at unstable 60 frames per second. So that's another thing, right? If it's going to run anything between 55 and 60, okay, that's fine. I guess most people can live with that. But if it's going to run anything between like 40 and 60, where it will hit 60 sometimes, but for the most part it will be anything between 40 and 60 and 50, like Elden Ring, for example, a lot of times on Xbox Series S, then yeah, that's not really going to be a great news for Series S. So we'll see how that goes. They don't really talk about any quality performance modes. Looks like there's just going to be one particular mode, or maybe not. Maybe they just maybe that's why they say up to 60. Maybe there will be quality balance modes. Who knows? I mean, here's another thing. Elden Ring offers quality and performance mode, but quality mode is not locked to 60. So the difference is that, for example, on Xbox Series S, Elden Ring in performance mode, it runs anything between 60 and 50, close to 50 a lot of times. And in quality mode, the frame rate actually drops down to like 40, 50 frames per second. So it's not really that great, right? So I would say that I think it would be better to lock that game to 30 in quality mode and up the resolution a little bit. But it is what it is. That's the thing with consoles, right? Developers offer you these options, and a lot of times there's not many of them, right? Like locking to 30 would actually probably fix a lot of issues with that game when it comes to quality mode. So yeah, I mean, it's a good news looking at the spreadsheet, of course, but we will still have to wait and see if they deliver. And by the way, From Software is not necessarily the best when it comes to optimizations, at least, especially at the launch. So, expect some fixes later too as well. But you know what? I did see the latest gameplay from Armored Core 6, and the game looks pretty cool, right? It's a cross-gen title, by the way. It's coming to Xbox One and PlayStation 4 too. 1080p, 30 frames per second. I mean, something that, I guess everyone expects. So that's another thing. Hopefully, because it's still a cross-gen title, hopefully it's not going to be too demanding, and it will be very close to 60 frames per second at 1440p or close on Xbox Series S. That's what I'm hoping for. Although, and really, ray tracing is going to be in Garage only, so it's not really going to affect the actual gameplay, right? Because the first minute I saw ray tracing, I thought, okay, so no way it's going to be 60 on Series S, right, with ray tracing. But that's only in Garage, right? So, I mean, they may So not a lot is going to be going on in the garage, like except you will see the parts of the actual garage, the hangar, and the robot, I guess, right? So guys, great news anyway, like I said, because a lot. Also another thing, they haven't really said anything about upscaling, so we don't really know whether that's going to be native resolutions or upscaling. They will be probably using some form of upscaling, but I hope that max resolution, we're talking about internal resolution, not the resolution after upscaling, right? But that's why they say up to, right? So I guess it makes sense. So we'll see how that goes. But good news so far. So we'll see how that goes when the actual game releases and if they will be able to actually deliver on these promises, I guess. So guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.